Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Legalized Mimi. Please, if this is your first time here, subscribe to my YouTube channel, like, comment on my post, and you can also repost because this page is informative, gives you knowledge of the law, basic knowledge of the law, reasons you need a lawyer, and once in a while we dabble into general issues of life. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about tenancy, and let's say the mistakes the landlords make. That's why you need a lawyer. Do you get? When you have tenants in your building, you need a lawyer because there are certain procedures to follow when issues arise, such as when the tenant holds over without paying his rent. So you need a lawyer to follow the due process. You can't just evict the tenants. Yes, it's your house, but the tenant still has rights. Okay, let's get into it. In order to regulate the relationship between landlords and tenants, certain laws have been enacted. We have the Recovery of Premises Act. It applies to the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and then thus is limited to Abuja. That is the Recovery of Premises Act. Then we have the Lagos State Tenancy Law. This Lagos State Tenancy Law applies to both residential and non-residential areas. However, there are exceptions, which are Ikeja GRA, Victoria Island, Ikoyi, Apapa. Then we have the Recovery of Premises Law in Lagos State. It applies to business premises only. Then we have the Magistrate Court Law of Lagos State. Also applies to Lagos State, but it's also included when you commence an action for recovery of premises. So who is a tenant? A tenant is a subtenant or a person occupying premises, buildings, on payment of rent or otherwise, but it does not include a person who is occupying such premises under a bona fide claim to be the owner of such premise. That means if you're the owner of such a premise and you're occupying there, you can't call yourself a tenant. You're the owner of the premise because you have a bona fide claim to the premise. Okay, we have different types of tenancies. We have the sub-tenancy, we have the statutory tenant, we have the service tenant. So who is a statutory tenant? A statutory tenant is one who came into the premise legally. That means he paid rent, but then after some time he holds over. That means after some time he didn't pay the rent and then he's still in your premise. He's a statutory tenant. You can't just evict him because he has some protections. He has some rights under the law. He's protected by law. So there are processes to evict him. You can't just throw him out of the house because he's owing you. Then we have a service tenant. A service tenant is a servant or an employee who is given a residential accommodation in his official capacity, as long as he's still in the service of his employer. So if I work for a bank and then the bank gives me an accommodation, the bank pays for the rent, I'm a service tenant. Do you get? But when probably I'm out of the employment or rent is not paid and all of that, this particular service tenant, there is a notice you serve him, although he's also regarded as a licensee. A licensee is a person who is permitted to use a premise, but he does not have exclusive possession to such premise. So a service tenant has some rights under the law. So you still have to serve him a notice of owner's intention to apply to court to recover premise. Don't worry, you would understand these notices when we get there. So there are some technicalities. You need a lawyer. I keep restating that fact. So I'm just giving you a basic knowledge, but if you're a landlord or a landlady, you need a lawyer so you don't make mistakes. Okay, there are we have different types of tenancies. Then we have statutory tenancy, tenancy by estoppel, licensing, tenancy at sufferance. Okay, so let's move on to the process that would be followed when you want to evict a tenant from your house. Probably as a landlord, you no longer want such tenant to keep occupying your premise. Probably he has not paid rent, or you don't like his way of life, his lifestyle in your building and everything. There are some processes that has to be followed. Is it that you engage a lawyer, employ a lawyer, or you engage a layman who you can call your agent. They will obtain letters of instruction from you. When they obtain such letter of instruction from you in order to evict such tenant, that's the first step. They will obtain such letter. When they do that, then the lawyer or the agent would then issue a notice to quit to such tenant. the lawyer or the agent will issue a notice to quit to such tenant. When such notice is issued to such tenant, it ends the relationship, the landlord and tenant relationship. It ends it once the notice to quit is issued. So you cannot just up and evict a tenant because he's protected by law. Then when you serve that, when such is done, and then the tenant also refuses to, or he neglects to give up possession of such premise, then your lawyer or the agent will go ahead to issue notice of owner's intention to apply to court to recover possession of such property. Okay, so let me break it down for you. If it's a quarterly tenancy, you give a 3 months notice. A yearly tenancy, 6 months notice. A month tenancy is a month's notice. Monthly tenancy, a month's notice. Then, okay, to apply to court, in order to know the court to apply to, the jurisdiction of the court when it comes to tenancy is determined by the annual rental value. That is how the annual rental value, the money paid for rent. Okay, if it's in the district court in Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, is 7 million. The monetary jurisdiction of the court, of the district court, because you go to the district court to commence tenancy action as long as is within the monetary jurisdiction, which is 7 million naira. So if the annual rental value is 7 million naira or less than that, then you can commence it in the district court in the Federal Capital Territory. Then if it's for Lagos State, you commence action in the magistrate court, and the monetary jurisdiction is 10 million naira. So if the tenancy annual rental value is 10 million naira or less, then you can commence it in the magistrate court. So you get it now. So when you want to issue notice of owner's intention to apply to court to recover possession of the premise, that's 7 days notice. It's also called 7 days notice. So you then you can then ascertain the court to commence the action. But if the annual rental value exceeds this particular amount I've stated, then you can then proceed to the High Court. So this is why I tell you need a lawyer in every single thing you want to do in this life. Contract, you're a landlord, tenant, everything. Is not, because everything is not so straightforward, but a lawyer is informed and knows the right steps to take. And then when after the issuance of the 7 days notice, then he still neglects, then you apply to court, the action is commenced, the hearing of the action, and then the judgment, and then you also enforce the judgment. So that is the process. So this just to give you a basic idea that a landlord can't just evict a tenant. There are processes to follow, and these are the processes. But when you feel you're confused or anything about it, you engage a lawyer. It makes it easier. So I hope this particular topic and short video is very informative. Please comment on this post and also repost. Thank you so much.